Hello, everyone. This is Andy Hall. You're watching the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. It's Monday, April 26th. Stories we're covering today. Oh, my reaction to the Moderna second shot. Adoption stories, meeting my birth mom for the first time ever. And yeah, we're going to be talking about some news stories too. Navajo Nation, an Algerian author arrested for blasphemy. Northern Ireland. Yep, we're probably going to be talking a bit about Northern Ireland over the coming months. And racist crap. But before we jump in everything, it's going to be a crazy show. Let's do something crazy. Let's do something funny. From my buddy, Thomas McDonald. Let's just do this thing.
Nice guy in the sheets, freak in the spreadsheets. I'm a respected business leader with 10 years experience servicing C-suite needs. My business philosophy is simple. I play for the whole enchilada. I won't even get out of bed in the morning for a partial enchilada. I shoo partial enchiladas. I shoo you. I'm a global thinker, but my money's on America. That's why I believe as Americans, we should salute Army guys, wave at firemen, and present ourselves to businessmen. On the weekends, you can find me being a disappointed dad of two, and if you ask me, the problem with the 90s is that we should have just done the 80s for 10 more years. Recent wins. I won the Area Businessman Award for Excellence. I recently went Super Saiyan in a business meeting, and I was voted most likely to be found playing for the whole enchilada by the NASDAQ Insider. I was pulsating with pizzazz when I received the honor. In fact, I'm pulsating now just remembering it. Look at my pizzazz pulsate. Or what if this is my Super Saiyan pulsation?
So that was from my buddy Thomas McDonald. His YouTube channel is Hot Regards. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Hilarious off-the-wall comedy. That's one of his saner pieces, to tell you the truth. Hat tip to Thomas. He has had one of his pieces on Cartoon Network. He's had one of his bits on there. Hilarious stuff. I hope everyone is doing well today. Oh, Andy has stories. Andy being me, I have stories. I don't want to talk about myself in the third person. Blazing, glad to see that you're here. Scott Duke, I had many adventures and many adventures, which I will talk about. I will talk about before we get into whatever's going on in the news. Oh, wow. Jesse Bear, glad to see that you're here, Jesse Bear. Phil Lister, somewhere near Toshvin. Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, Phil. I'm not going to try to pronounce that at all. Brain bug. Buzzin' Tobin. Glad to see you, sir. What is smarter than a talking cat? A spelling bee. Oh, hey, I saw that. Good. Derek Cruz. Jess M. Clockwork X. If you weren't here for the after party after show last Thursday, that was the last time I streamed. Clockwork X has the best voice for radio. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Kevin Chaos, and of course Dr. Mordecai, John Hudson, and Imaginary God. I hope everyone is doing well. So what? So much to cover within only a few minutes because I do want to get to the news stories. So the last time we met was on Thursday. I ended the after party after show, the show that we do from 10 o'clock till about 11 a.m. I had to leave early because I got my second shot. And then I went on a 12-hour drive, which actually became a 14-hour drive because of stops and the traffic in several places. So it became a 14-hour drive from Boston, Massachusetts, from where I live, down to North Carolina, where my birth mother is, and my sister and her kids. And before I start talking about me meeting with my mom and my sister, let me tell you about my adventures with the side effects of the vaccine, I decided, we got up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So I got my shot at about noontime, a little bit after noontime on Thursday. We started driving at 5 a.m. on Friday. And I was thinking to myself, I should get as much driving as possible in until the side effects start hitting, because I heard the side effects start about 24 hours in after your shot. And you know what? The side effects started hitting about 24 hours in after that second shot. I took some aspirin. I tried to drink some water. Let me tell you something. This is from what I've experienced and what I've seen from other people. If you have medical conditions going into the second shot, for that window of time, those medical conditions that you may be feeling get worse. You will feel them worse. So be prepared. And pro tip, probably driving 14 hours, being trapped in a car for 14 hours, not the best choice I made. I had to do it because of scheduling. I had a certain window to do it. And in retrospect, maybe flying would have been a better choice. Maybe. So it was, oh, the Moderna. Yeah. You shouldn't be crapping yourself, John Hudson, about the second. Like my girlfriend, or the girlfriend, I don't think she's in the chat today, working and things. She had a slight fever, some muscle aches. For me, I had some fever, some chills. It just knocked the wind out of me, to tell you the truth. And like I said, I'm a relatively healthy guy, but I do have some minor medical issues that, ongoing. And so those got exacerbated. And once again, being in a car for 14 hours, the day after getting your second shot, not recommended. That's not recommended. That was not, no. And that was just one, yeah. But, a buddy, Jonathan M.S. Pierce, he experienced he has ongoing health issues too. I'm not telling tales out of school. He posted this on Facebook earlier today, and he suffered an exacerbation of whatever medical issues he had beforehand. They were worse. The vaccine, the second shot of the vaccine, made them worse. So just be ready. Have some pain reliever. Drink some water. That's just my recommendation. I'm not a doctor. There are plenty of sources that you can get, but the aspirin did seem to help me kind of coast. I slept for 15 hours. Once we got to the hotel in North Carolina, my girlfriend said, Andy slept for like maybe 15 hours, 13 hours, somewhere in that. And if you know me, one of my problems is I can't get more than about 6 hours of sleep on the regular. A lot of the times I only get 5 hours of sleep. Sometimes, if I'm lucky, I get 7 hours of sleep. But I slept for 15 hours once we got to North Carolina. It just wiped me out. So that was B. What's up? Hope you're doing well. You had flu symptoms for about 2 days. Yeah, I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good until Sunday, to be honest, until, like me, like back to normal, back to baseline. I think that's what the doctors would say, right? Apart from being bad-tempered and insufferable towards everyone, had no side effect after vaccination. I think my major side effect, actually, besides the fever and the chills, is that my girlfriend had to do some more driving than just 50%. She probably did 70% of the driving on the way down. I tried to make up for it on the way back, of course. But yeah, she got to drive while I was basically collapsed. So, and Jesse Pierre, congratulations on getting your first shot on Thursday. I'm planning them close to one weekend because I'm sure I'll feel like crap. I do with a flu shot. Okay, yeah, so that's a good idea. It's a good idea. And I just want to let you know, too, about how I pronounce the word idea. I think I've been wrestling with this about switching from idea, which I say, to idea, and I don't like it. I think I'm still going to stick with idea. All right. Scott Duke says you are tired and achy after each Moderna shot. Interesting. So I met my birth mother, pivoting awkwardly. I met my birth mother for the first time last Saturday. I met my sister for the first time and her kids, most of her kids, for the first time on Saturday. It was a surprise to my mom. My sister and I, we decided it was going to be a surprise to her. And so I arrived at my sister's house at about 11 o'clock in the morning with my, with the girlfriend. We hung out with my sister, got to know her for about a half an hour before my mom came in. Now, my sister is a nurse, and I did say, hey, mom's not young. Is she going to be able to tolerate the shock of me just suddenly appearing out of nowhere? She said yes. And so it was an emotional experience. I have to tell you, men are weird. Many of us are weird with emotions. I did the work before meeting her. She cried, of course. She cried, which funny thing is that she recognized my girlfriend first, and then she recognized me. Maybe it was a haircut. I just got my haircut a little while ago. And men are odd about emotions. Whenever, because I've written some short stories, a book, and whenever I write men's characters, how we traditionally deal with emotion is obliquely. We don't really deal with it up front. And I'll give you an example of this. During our conversation, and we talked for about 8-9 hours. We took a break. My girlfriend and I went out for lunch and everything, then came back. But we talked for a good, 8-9 hours. And, not incredibly too emotional for me during that time. But just 5 minutes before starting the show, I was just thinking about it. And I'm getting teary. And it's like, holy crap, Andy Hall. This is when the emotions start showing up, when you start thinking about talking about it. And that's just how weird emotions are. They just come up when they come up. And so there's obviously more work I have to do. There's more work I have to do about this topic. I was talking with my 16-year-old about the situation and showed her some pictures of us. And so there is more work that I need to do to process through all the feels I have. And it was maybe driving 14 hours down wasn't a wise idea. Maybe driving 14 hours back on Sunday wasn't a good idea, because once we had this intense series of conversations, and when I say intense, they were intense just because this is the first time I ever met her, and I didn't have like a list of questions to ask her. I didn't grill her. Let the conversation go naturally, and where it went, it went. But so that was Saturday, and then Sunday we just did the 14-hour drive back to Boston, which was a lot easier, may I say, because I wasn't suffering from the side effects of the shot. So that was my weekend. It felt weird not streaming, not talking to any of you here. Over the weekend, I wasn't really on Facebook. I wasn't on Twitter a whole lot. I definitely wasn't on YouTube because I was sick and driving. And then I was really engaged with my mom and my sister and her kids. And then on Sunday, it was just driving again. All right. What's up, KCA? Okay, so now I'm pivoting over the chat to see how everyone's doing. What's up, KCA? Randy? Yeah, Phil Lister. Yeah. How are you processing? Yeah, it takes time. It takes time, Jesse Beer. Like I said, just like 5 minutes before starting the show, I was like thinking about it. And it was a heavy lift. It was a heavy lift. I think I still have to kind of, I do some writing, some private writing about it. And then when I talk with my kids about it too, I think that helps me kind of understand things. It helps kids see emotions out. Yeah. The good thing, actually, is that because I was in North Carolina, and I don't want to come off as a complete, I want to ease them into who I am in the world. So this is the longest time I think I've ever had a conversation without ranting or going into one of my intense moments where I start talking about either the Holy Roman Empire or what's wrong with the country or about, religion or, politics, current events, stuff like that. I kept it. My girlfriend said, Andy, you did a very good job keeping the intensity to a reasonable level. And that's what I was looking for. All right. Are we going to let's do some memes, what are you doing here? It's already 15 minutes into the show. Man, I never like making the show. I'm a narcissist, don't get me wrong, but I don't like making the show completely about me. Is there important news stories to talk about? Let's do a couple of funny memes, and then we'll jump into the news. Acts of God. Acts of God, right there. This is a cat meme that I thought we would all enjoy. Drug sniffing cats. A lot of heroin in here. Yeah. Shall we tell the humans? F the state. And the last meme before we get into the news stories is this little bit I saw from Dragons and Genesis, posted on Facebook. The beavers going into Noah's Ark. They have to be tied up because they're beavers. All right, checking out the chat one more time. Oh, well, that's a good question. I cannot I will say this, John Hudson. If you talk to most parents, people who've had kids, they will say that their children have their own characters as soon or shortly after coming out of the womb. And it's really about meeting and experiencing your kids. So I can say that for sure. Like my daughter and my son had specific traits. Genetics or environment. That is a tough one. I have to meet my dad's side of the family to really get a better view on that. I think that's what I have to do. But what about the termites? That's right, Blazing Wizard Pope. But what about the termites? What does that mean? Are the termites just going to eat up the ark? I don't know. Yeah, that's right, Jesse. There's no doubt that nature and nurture both play a big part. No doubt about that. Wow, starting off. All right, so I'm going to get into the actual stories now. Let's talk about Navajo and the Navajo Nation and COVID. Good news. This is good news. The thing is, when we cover news stories, there's a lot of bad stuff. There's always a lot of bad stuff in the news. But this is actually a good story. Links in the description, everyone. Navajo Nation vaccinates more than half of its adult population, outpacing the U.S. national rate. Good news. CNN, as COVID-19 vaccinations have become more widely available across the U.S., the Navajo Nation has reported more than half of its adult members have been vaccinated, outpacing the vaccination rate for the rest of the U.S. The U.S.'s rate is currently 36.5%, according to the CDC. Navajo Nation, which is the largest reservation in the U.S., with over 300,000 members, has now vaccinated more than half of all adults living on the nation, Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez said in a press release Sunday. Navajo Nation experienced uncontrolled spread just months ago. The challenges the Navajo Nation faced during the pandemic, such as a lower healthcare capacity and less resources, led them to have the highest rate of COVID-19 infection in May of 2020, surpassing New York State's infection rate at the time. In January, the Navajo Nation reported more than 75 communities were still suffering from uncontrolled spread of the virus. At the time, officials attributed the rise in cases to increased family gatherings over the holiday season. As a result, officials put much of the community back on strict lockdown measures including telling people to stay home on the weekends unless going to work or the grocery store. That makes sense. On Sunday, Navajo Nation reported 26 new cases and 10 new deaths. The news release said a total of 1,273 people have died and more than 16,000 have recovered from COVID-19 as of Sunday. This is a stark contrast from last year when Navajo Nation was reporting hundreds of new cases and dozens of deaths daily. Over 50% vaccination rate for Navajo Nation. Fantastic. Good news overall. That is awesome news, right, Jesse Beer? That is good news. And like we've covered before, so we've had what did the article say about 30-something, 36.5% people vaccinated in the country. And now, as to be expected, the vaccine rollout is a bit slower because the people who really wanted the vaccine, myself included, have got it. Now, those people who are a bit more resistant to getting the vaccine, they're going to take a while to get it. That's why we need incentives, right? We just need incentives to give people. Are you just talking about giving people money? Maybe scratch tickets. Maybe if you get your vaccine dose, you get a scratcher, you get a scratch ticket. I don't know. I'm not even joking, because there are different ways that you can incentivize good behavior. And getting everyone vaccinated is so important. I'm not against, the idea of giving people just cash. Just give them cash to get the shot. All right, next bit. Oh, this is not so happy a story coming out of Algeria. Algerian author Saeed, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, sentenced to jail for offending Islam. It's so easy to get caught up with religious fundamentalists here in the States, and it's easy to forget about what's going on in other countries in terms of religious fundamentalists. Let's take a look at the story. An author of Islamic books in Algeria has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for offending the religion. Saeed, that's all I'm gonna have to call him Saeed, said he was surprised by the severity of the sentence he had been given and would appeal. He was tried after 7 lawyers and a fellow academic lodged complaints against him for disrespecting Islam. Saeed had said the animal sacrificed during the Muslim festival of Eid was based on pre-Islamic pagan ritual. This guy wrote a bunch of other what would be considered to be radical concepts within Islam, but we're going to get to those too. He also suggested, here it is. He also suggested that parts of the Quran, such as the story of Noah's Ark, might not be literally true, and criticized practices, including the marriage of young girls in some Muslim societies. Islam is Algeria's religion of state. The law imposes a fine or prison sentence on anyone who offends the prophet or denigrates the dogmatic precepts of Islam, whether it be writings, drawings, a statement by other means. Muslims believe in slaughtering an animal during the annual Eid, I'm just going to call it Eid, festival to remember, they say, Prophet Ibrahim's, that's Abraham to you and me, willingness to sacrifice his son, Ismail, Isaac, when God ordered him to. I don't think that's worth celebrating. I don't think Abraham willing to sacrifice his son to the voices in his head worth celebrating. That's just me, chat. That's just me. Saeed has written 2 books on Islam. He has been quoted in media reports for calling for, quote, unquote, reflection on Islam's founding texts. So what he is trying to do, this is not original thinking on my part. Islam's never had a reformation. And this is one of the reasons why. They just lock people up. He said his accusers believe that everything in the Quran is literally true and do not distinguish between history and myth, such as the story about Noah's Ark. Everyone thinks of history with a capital H, he was quoted on saying. He recently told AFP that the traditional readings of the Quran no longer meet the expectations, needs, and questions of modern man. Muslims believe the Quran is the word for Allah and was revealed to Prophet Muhammad as a guide to mankind. Rights groups Rights group Amnesty International's deputy director described the 3-year sentence as outrageous and a chilling setback for freedom of expression in Algeria. Punishing someone for their analysis of religious doctrines is a flagrant violation of the rights to freedom of expression and freedom of belief, even if the comments are deemed offensive by others. This is the important part. The protection of freedom isn't for, it's meant to protect unpopular speech. It's not, popular speech doesn't need protection, does it? It's the unpopular speech. That's what the right of free expression is supposed to be there to protect. This is not the harshest sentence handed down for offending Islam in Algeria. Last year, anti-government activist Yassine Mbarki was given a 10-year sentence after police found a copy of the Quran with ripped pages when they raided his house. The sentence was later reduced to 1 year. Even a 1-year sentence for ripping out pages of the Quran, it's absurd. It is absurd. Checking out the chat. Yeah, Jesse Bear, that story always creeped me out. I almost killed my kid. And somehow this is considered to be a moral story. And this is the thing that you meet, that you can, when you run into someone who believes these stories, like Noah's Ark, or who holds them close to their heart. It's like, even if Noah's Ark isn't true, it tells a great story. It's like, what's the moral to that story? That God kills 99.9% of the population of the planet? What's the story of Abraham and Isaac? What's the great moral there? Blind obedience? That's not, yeah. Just hit the like. Thank you, John Hudson. If you are watching and you like what you see or what you're hearing, please hit the like button. Oh, sure. Catholic Church is trying to do that thing too. Yep, preventing reformations by imprisonment or torture or execution. The Cathars in France, there have been Anabaptists. These are all small groups that have been, the Huguenots in France. All these groups have been persecuted by the Catholic Church in years past. Blazing Pope, you raise an interesting question. Raise an interesting issue. Wouldn't it be better for celebrating not killing a child? Or not killing an animal, right? Right. So you're celebrating not killing a child. That would be like a nice way of celebrating that is by not killing an animal. That's true enough. Well, imaginary God, I think you're onto something right there. That is, Philister, that is true. It is comparatively, it isn't Saudi Arabia, is it? Algeria is not Saudi Arabia. Let's see what else, if I caught everything else. You can give me cash? Well, I'm all in that. Like I said, for liberals and atheists living in red states, you should be getting a stipend anyway. Maybe not Richard Dawkins, but someone should be sending our frontiers people who are in red states a stipend so that they can get through their day. All right. So I think I am going to do the halftime show because we are at halftime. After the halftime show, of course, after this show is over, we do an open room. The link is in the description. I believe it's the first link in the chat too, or the first comment in the chat. And the open room is you can just come in. We can talk about anything. Today, the open room is going to be from 10 to 11. So feel free to come in the after party after show. And now we'll do the halftime show. Too many shows in one paragraph, Andy. Too many shows. Let's just do something funny.
Have you noticed that the people that don't believe in climate change tend to be racist? I don't know what the link is there, but it just seems to be complete stupidity that they go for. I think what we should do is we should make stuff up to make people believe in climate change. Let's use their fears against them. Be like, look, if we don't cool down the oceans, the fish are going to come out and they're going to take your job. got like these whales and fucking like dolphins walking up onto the beach, holding plastic bags and cigarettes, be like, it's fucking roasting in there, man.
I've always thought that the way to get people to be serious about climate change is by doing something like just lie to them. I thought that was a hilarious bit. Is that a way to segue? That might actually work on some people. It might, Jesse Bear. It might work on some people. Is this just a somewhat awkward way to dovetail into this next story about Northern Ireland? Yeah. You know, if you remember what I was saying after the election and heading up towards January 6th, I was always talking about double death overtime, that these are things that we should be concerned about leading up to January 6th. I feel like the events of January 6th and the chaos kind of vindicated my whole, well, we should really be concerned about the electoral count, the electoral vote count. So this is going to be something like that, everyone. This is going to be, Andy talks about Northern Ireland before it blows up. I mean, there's been some conflict in Northern Ireland due to Brexit, due to Boris Johnson, but it is a story that I'm going to continue to cover. And then when something does go crazy over there, or gets crazier, then we'll be like, oh, well, we know about this, got this, I'll understand it. Or at least we've been covering the story. All right, let's take a look. Boris Johnson is warned of dangerous political vacuum in Northern Ireland. Letter from 4 former secretaries of state says Brexit's damage to the peace process must be addressed. I think it's easy for those of us in the States just to assume that the peace process wasn't a peace process, but it was peace one. Put a period on it and just walk away, just like America does. Just like, you know, we're done with paying attention to this thing over here. We're going to go do something else right now. So yeah, it is a peace process in Northern Ireland. It is not peace one. It isn't over. Let's take a look at the story. In Northern Ireland, a dangerous vacuum and could fall over unless the UK government acts swiftly, according to a cross-party group of former cabinet members and with experience with Legion. So there was a letter published over the weekend, I believe, an open letter about this particular issue. Boris Johnson needs to show more urgency and focus to ameliorate Brexit's damage to the peace process, the group tells the Prime Minister in an open letter published on Monday. The lesson of the past 50 years or more in Northern Ireland is that if there is no forward movement, things do not stand still, they fall over. It is the responsibility of the UK government to ensure that does not happen, because there is nothing more dangerous than a political vacuum. The letter tacitly accuses Johnson and the Northern Ireland Secretary, Brendan Lewis, of endangering the 1998 Good Friday Agreement through neglect and dishonesty. The letter said recent disturbances in mostly loyalist areas reflected failure in Belfast and Whitehall to sustain positive political momentum, a requirement for peace and stability in the region. Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, recognized that, as did John Major before them. They took personal charge of the peace process, convening regular summits and being in constant touch with all parties. The letter said only serious, continuous engagement could diffuse anger over the Irish Sea trade border. There is a strong sense within loyalists and unionists that no one is listening to them, and that nobody in authority in Whitehall has been honest with them about the consequences of Brexit. Well, they haven't been. The reason why you're feeling no one's listening to you, and the reason why you're feeling that no one's been honest about Brexit from London, is that's the reason. Unless politics is made to work and seen to work, unrest will continue, it said. That meant creating a space for local politics to regain the initiative and restoring badly damaged trust with the Irish government. A poll of Northern Ireland voters last week, only 5% of respondents said they trusted the UK government to handle Northern Ireland's interests in post-Brexit arrangements. analysts said the Prime Minister's claim to be sandpapering the Northern Ireland Protocol into shape was abrasive rhetoric and not leadership. So there you go. Open letter to Boris Johnson, to the leadership in London about you gotta stay on top, especially, well, and for those of you who aren't aware, Northern Ireland, there's a land border. That land border is porous. Brexit threatened to make that border hard, a hard border, which was seen to probably bring about the Troubles again. And the Troubles was a very violent part of British history, particularly in Northern Ireland. Bombings in London, British troops in Northern Ireland to keep the peace. A nasty bit of history. And now with Brexit, the border is now in the sea. So the border, once again, between Northern Ireland, there isn't a border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. There is a border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, and the rest of the UK, and that's in the ocean. Does that sound like a horrible plan? It is a horrible plan. And when you throw religion in there, Protestants, Unionists, and Catholics, nothing good comes of this. Johnson is such a Johnson, yeah. Well, you know, there is, yeah, it does. And the thing is, of course, there isn't just one group. And that's the thing. Once you get momentum going, these tit-for-tat killings, these mobs, violence, it's tit-for-tat. And there are all these small groups too. It isn't just one unionist group versus one Catholic group. It's these small militias that form. And when that happens and they all start mixing it up, it's very difficult to get things under control and for cooler heads to emerge. Music Man, this is your last day on YouTube? I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, this is right. I am a Protestant atheist, I have to tell you, Imaginary God. If asked, I would be a Protestant atheist. But that's a good. If Imaginary God is referencing Richard Dawkins, he wrote this, I think, in The God Delusion, that he was going through, I think it was Northern Ireland, and he was stopped at a checkpoint by militia. And they asked him if he was a Protestant or a Catholic, and Dawkins is like, well, I'm an atheist. And they go, well, are you a Catholic atheist or are you a Protestant atheist? And that just shows you how mad life is. That just shows you how mad tribalism is and faith is. Oh yeah, John Hudson, you just add it, and it's like fuel to the fire. That's what it does. Because when you have divinity, you can justify a lot of bad actions by just saying, well, God wants it. Oh, that was Hitchens? Oh, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, Imaginary God. That was Hitchens. Very nice. That sounds more like Hitchens when you think about it. Northern Ireland is a situation of now just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah. Unless there's some real, like a surge of diplomacy, a surge of outreach, a surge of services, it's just going to be a maelstrom. That's what it's going to be. Climate change will generate mass migration, will diametrically, yep. All right. That was, all right. I think we just covered the Northern Ireland situation. What have we done so far? I'm glad you asked. We talked about the Navajo Nation and COVID, the Algerian author arrested for blasphemy, and the current fiasco, the ongoing fiasco, or maybe the unraveling of the peace process in Northern Ireland. We'll go with that. The unraveling of the peace process in Northern Ireland. Oh, hey, B's at a new job. Hello, B. I'm just looking at this right now at the new job. A few moments to hang out with you guys. First, hey, good luck. Good luck. So we're going to do a video. We're going to talk about, cheery subjects, everyone. Cheery subjects. We just talked about Northern Ireland, the peace process unraveling, let's talk about Joe Biden recognizing the Armenian genocide. And I think I can talk intelligently about the background of the Armenian genocide, but let's look at the clip first.
And breaking news out of Washington, D.C., President Biden today became the first U.S. president to formally acknowledge the killing of more than 1 million Armenians by Ottoman Turks more than a century ago as being a genocide. Breaking right now in a historic statement, the president has officially again recognized that genocide. Let's go to NBC's Monica Alba in Washington, D.C. So, Monica, welcome. Let's talk about what the president's saying about this today and the significance of it. It's a big deal.
Absolutely, Alex. And that's really because every U.S. leader before him had failed to get to this level. Many had acknowledged the violence, the death of more than 1 million Armenians killed more than a century ago in what is now modern day Turkey, but they hadn't gone so far as to label it a genocide over a diplomatic fear and concern potentially of angering Turkey, that partner in the region and of course within NATO. But President Biden made good on a campaign pledge to do this, writing in a statement earlier today that he acknowledged it outright as a genocide, again, as the first U.S. president to do so, saying each year on this day, we remember the lives of all those who died in the Ottoman era Armenian genocide and recommit ourselves to preventing such an atrocity from ever again occurring. So the president did speak with Turkey's Erdogan yesterday. This was their first phone call while he was in office, and neither side included in their readout the fact that this declaration was going to be coming. The only reference we saw to it was in the U.S. side and version. They said that the U.S. does pledge to work with Turkey and to manage some disagreements. Of course, this would be one of them. For a very long time, for decades, Turkey has denied that this is in fact a genocide. They've acknowledged the deaths, but didn't go that far. And we're already hearing from the Turkish foreign minister and government there completely rejecting this declaration. But really from the U.S. side of things, this is something that lawmakers had called for. And really, this is something where President Biden wanted to send a message on global human rights, but now does enter this diplomatic dance. And we're going to get this first preview of what this may look like in person when the president takes his first overseas trip. He's going to be heading to the UK and then also to Brussels, Belgium in mid-June. And what's notable about the trip to Brussels is that's going to be taking place around the NATO summit. And on the sidelines of that, we already know that the president has committed to meeting with Erdogan face to face. So this will be among the many issues discussed. Also on that trip, he'll be heading to the G7 in Cornwall. Significant because up till now, the White House had really said they wanted to limit foreign travel given all of the coronavirus restrictions. But now as things are starting to open back up, we're going to see the president take this trip. Of course, he's been doing so much virtually, as we just saw in that 2-day global summit on the climate crisis.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and...
All right, so that was that story. Joe Biden acknowledges the fact that the Armenian genocide, well, was a genocide. What happened during World War I? The Ottomans, rulers in Turkey and in Saudi Arabia and Egypt at the time. Were they? No, they were not in Egypt, but of Jerusalem too. They were afraid the Russians were going to weaponize the ethnic Armenians, who happen to be Christians, who lived within the Ottoman Empire. The Turks just basically did ethnic cleansing. They did ethnic cleansing and did not prepare the people being moved. And just human tragedy followed. Yeah. Biden, you know, I didn't expect him to recognize the Armenian genocide when you consider the fact that, you know, Obama never did it, Clinton never did it. It's good. It probably wouldn't have occurred. It wouldn't be occurring if it wasn't for the fact that President Erdogan of Turkey is being a big bag of dicks, because that's what he's being. I mean, in terms of world leaders, President Erdogan of Turkey ranks up as a big bag of dicks. Indeed. So what's the next story? Next one we got is about, racist stuff. Racist stuff. Colonial Heights, this is in Virginia, everyone, tells neighbor, "You're not the right color." And the employer responds, "Did someone get fired?" Yeah. On video, of course it was on video, a food bank worker and her neighbor were arguing. The black resident asked the white woman if she was calling her the N-word. The white woman said, "Yes, you are." And of course, it was all on video. Colonial Heights in Virginia. The head of the Chesterfield Food Bank claimed Saturday that a Facebook video shared on social media showing a white employee telling a black resident that she was not the right color had nothing to do with the woman's job at Chesterfield Charity. It was between neighbors, CFB CEO Kim Hill claimed. It's still sad and an unfortunate situation. Well, that person changed their minds pretty darn quickly, let me tell you. Let's continue. The social media video showed the white worker on a sidewalk in front of a resident's home. In the argument snippet, the black Lynchburg Avenue resident responds to the abuse by asking, "I'm a N-word?" The white woman can be heard replying, "Yes, you are." In a post on the CFB Facebook page Friday, Hill said she was brokenhearted over the video that was posted in a private Facebook chat of the Colonial Heights Issues group. Hill said the conduct shown on the video goes directly against our values and beliefs. You're working at a food pantry. How? You would think you'd be nice if you were working at a food pantry. You'd think. In response to the situation, we have terminated the employee, she wrote. We remain committed to creating and providing a positive, uplifting, and encouraging environment for our staff, volunteers, and clients. Hill did not identify the employee by name, but an image on the video shows the worker's first name. It's Hillary, by the way, on the Chesterfield Food Bank badge. The worker was apparently heading to her job when the argument started. So I'm going to go give out some free food at the food bank, but by the way, you're the N-word. The 30-second video starts in the middle of an argument between the worker and the resident on the resident's front porch. While it's not immediately clear what started the altercation, it quickly escalated when the worker took out her cell phone and told the resident to watch me handle this. Was she going to call the police? I think she was going to call the police. I don't know. The white woman was standing on the home's front walk a few feet off from the steps. She followed that comment with, "You're not the right color, honey." I don't even know. Commenters on the original Colonial Heights Issues page post claimed that the argument was the latest in a round of disputes between the two and that Colonial Heights police have been called to the scene several times in the past. A message left for police department spokesperson confirming those claims has not yet been answered. In the food bank's Facebook response, Hill thanked everyone for reaching out to us after the video was posted. We are honored to serve everyone in need with hope and dignity, Hill wrote. So the racist food bank worker got fired. She was doing this on the way to work too, and she just decides to throw out the N-bomb. If you start getting into an argument with someone, maybe, it's probably some BS neighbor stuff, like your fence is like 2 inches into my property, some kind of suburban crap. And you just throw out an N-bomb on the way to work. That's crazy. And now she lost her job over it too. And she probably needs that job. All right. Let's see. Just checking out the chat here. The right color is blue. I do like blue. Always wanted to color my hair blue. I'm making a confession here, right now. Always wanted to color my hair blue. Too big of a coward to do that. But maybe I will someday. I don't know. All right. So I just want to say that I did do something. So let's just go over the stories, right? The stories that we covered over the weekend, the stories that we covered today. We talked about Navajo and the Navajo Nation getting their COVID vaccinations up to over 50% of the adult population. Good job, Navajo Nation. The Algerian author arrested for blasphemy. Northern Ireland. Going to keep an eye on that situation over there. The fact that President Biden has acknowledged the Armenian genocide. Good job, President Biden. And racist crap from Virginia. Like I said, I was out of the picture for most of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But, and this is a nice story. I think it's a nice story because every once in a while, something nice happens on social media. Corey Ryan Forrester is a comedian. He works with Trey Crowder and in the Well-Read comedy tour. He's been on the show before. Trey's been on the show before. And over the weekend, I was scrolling on Facebook, and I noticed that one of my near and dear Facebook friends conflated in other words, he mixed together an artist's art with a stance on a moral issue. And I'm like, well, you can say that you like what the artist does and say that you dislike their stance on a moral issue. And you can say that you dislike their art and dislike their stance on a moral issue, but that just confuses things. Right? Especially when it comes to something subjective like art, because art is subjective. What I found is that there are people who will debate strongly for the fact that morality is subjective, right? But when it comes to art, they treat art as if it's objective. In other words, I don't find this funny, so it can't be funny. And what I did was that I tweeted something that Corey Ryan Forrester was on when he was here about a year ago, probably. And this is what he told me. And this is something I've been thinking about. When I think about art I don't like comedy, painting, architecture, etc., I remember Corey Ryan Forrester's advice. I just say it isn't for me, but that doesn't mean I have to shit on it, basically. So that is something that I have wrestled with because, art is one of those things. Comedy is one of those things that you see it, and if you really don't like it, there's like an assumption that it just sucks. And that's not always true. It just means that it isn't for you. And I pointed that out to my friend on Facebook. Maybe he heard it, maybe he didn't. I don't know. So let's do a funny video before we put a bow on the show.
Whoa. Who do you know here? Yeah, you're good. Come on in. What? Where are we going? What are you doing? Can I come? I can come? Ow, I think I just broke my ankle. I should probably sprint it off. Hey, is everything okay? You've been in the bathroom for like 45 seconds. Hi.
He's a funny guy. He's from the Boston area. He does a whole bunch of Boston videos, and now he just did a bit about dogs. The pug, right, Jesse Bear? Dr. Mordecai. This is true. Some people like vanilla ice cream, and some people like chocolate ice cream, and will kill you for it. If you've ever read Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, there's a whole bit when Gulliver is in Lilliput about these two nations at war with each other, and they're at war at each other because one side likes to break their soft-boiled eggs from the small-enders, and the other nation likes to break their soft-boiled eggs from the big-enders, and that's what they're basically fighting about. That's, Jonathan Swift. satirical genius. All right. After party, after show, 10 a.m. 5 minutes from now. 5 minutes from now. 5 minutes from now. If you want to come and talk, that's great. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. And if no one shows up, I'm just going to talk into the void for 5 minutes. I'm going to do a thank you video for all my patrons and members. Greatly appreciate your support. Andy out. See you in 5 minutes, hopefully.